Of Harsha V Foundation, CPR Institute of Indological Research. Now I invite Dr. Mohan to welcome the gathering.
On behalf of the Foundation and CPR Institute of Indological Research, it's my pleasure to welcome you all for this wonderful evening. In fact, we have in our midst here Professor and a professional doctor, Harsha V. Dehejia. In fact, about him I will speak a little. And Dr. Dehejia is there, other dignitaries are here. I am very happy in welcoming you here. And Dr. Balaji has given me another duty also to introduce the speaker also. So, Professor Harsha V. Dehejia is, of course, a professional, as I told you already, Indo-Canadian allergologist, author and radio host and professor of Indian Studies at Carleton University. Was born and raised in Malabar Hills, South Mumbai, and received his medical doctorate from Bombay University, and within words with 6 gold medals. Most of us would not have gone at all. And then studied allergy and respiratory diseases at Cambridge University. He moved to Canada, where he began practicing medicine in Ottawa in late 60s, 1968. In 1975, Dehejia helped the radio station CKCUFM obtained his first broadcast license and began hosting the radio show An Indian Morning that November. In 1976, he wrote a packet book-sized manual entitled Can Cope with Allergy, and in 1980, he published the allergy book. And in 1984, a news piece, he noted his displeasure with all the myths surrounding allergies. Because if something doesn't happen to us, we say immediately, sir, there is allergy to me. It happens even for other things also normally. And he quotes that people often misuse the term to refer to normal response to toxins, when an allergy is defined as an abnormal response to substances harmless to most. And sir has continued to engage in numerous civic and cultural activities as well, with the Ottawa Citizen voting in 2003. Although he is a leading allergist in Ottawa, Doctor has found time to write books about the poetry and fine arts, paintings and gods of India, and host a radio program, An Indian Morning, and teach a course at Carleton University on Hinduism and classical Indian intellectual traditions. And in due course, was regularly traveling to India, his own native place, working towards gaining his PhD in religion from the University of Bombay and participating in seminars and presenting papers. And Professor was rightly and deservingly presented in the year 2003 with Rajaram Award for Literature for outstanding contributions to the literature and culture of the South Asian diaspora in 2018. So in 2018, Sir was one of the 5 recipients of recognition for community leadership by the Indo-Canada Ottawa Business Chamber, and in 2014, again, multifarious personality show, he published his only work of fiction, the novel Narul, a love story, and when he's imbibing with philosophical values like Maya and other things. So, and in 2015, it's a milestone. Sir, he celebrated the 40th year of his radio show, An Indian Morning, the only show to have been broadcast continuously on CKCUFM for the long time in Canada. In 2017, Dehejia published Walk With Me on Mumbai footpaths, recounting discoveries encountered while walking in Mumbai. The following year, he published Radha, which explores the many stories that feature Radha, a Hindu goddess. And he spent over 2 years researching and writing for this book. And In 2019, Sir further explored this mythos with his chapter, The Heartthrob of Chaitanya, in the book Finding Radha, The Quest for Love, and in an edited collection, Radha from Gopi to Goddess. And it is their own family's pleasure that their son, Madam, is also here. Vivek Harsha Dehejia is also a professor at Carleton University, teaching in the areas of philosophy and economics. And today, this evening, Sir is going to talk about the third eye of Indian art. The logo in this invitation you can see depicting very interesting pictures, and he has to unfold whatever the reason behind it. Sometime back I had the pleasure of talking with Professor. So in the logo we can see three words here: Satyam Sundaram Smaranam. So normally you used to say Satyam Sivam Sundaram. So Satyam Sundaram Smaranam. So it is Satyam, of course, it is all the truth is always beautiful. Satyam is always Sundaram. So he interweaves everything, and what we have done. Maybe some truth seems to be sometimes bitter, but it is always truth. And if we know the real truth, it will be beautiful. The problem is we have forgotten everything. That is why he made a point, Satyam Sundaram Smaranam. Smaranam is remembering this. So, and dealing with the Indian art and his vast experience, Professor is going to talk on the third eye of Indian art, and where he has travelled all along the way from Mumbai here today for this lecture, and it is rather, we cannot say this is because we are going to record it and broadcast, but because of this inclement weather, we are expecting the people also to come, because normally our own programs we have a very decent and people of that caliber here, and I am very happy to welcome you one and all again here for this evening, and I am really very happy to welcome Professor to deliver his memorable lecture. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I request our Professor Emeritus from G.J. Sudhakar to present a moment to Professor Vidya. Sorry, Harsha V.
Balik sir, photo.
Is this on? Yes. So, Mr. Mohan, distinguished guests of this very illustrious institute, and dear friends, I'm so happy and proud to be back here almost after 25 years, which is 25 years back. I was here launching my book, The Celebration of Love, which turned out to be a seminal work. And I'm hoping that today, what I'm going to do, I'm presenting a work in progress, but with the blessings of this institute, I hope this work might get recognized and might grow. So again, to repeat, this is work in progress. By no means is this completed work. And I would welcome any interruptions, any questions, criticisms, and additions and improvements to what I'm about to say. So the title of what I'm going to say is The Third Eye of Indian Art. All of us are familiar with the two eyes, but those of us who are philosophically inclined are also familiar with the third eye, the Dehejia, the third eye of Shiva, the eye of the eye, and so on. And the attempt on my part will be that aesthetics, or the celebration of what is beautiful, is best taken or happens with the third eye, and that this whole experience of the experience of the beautiful or aesthetic experience runs parallel to Vedanta, and therefore we should try and include or think of aesthetics as perhaps a branch of Vedanta. That will be the attempt. Let us see how we progress. Now, when we talk of eyes, we in the tradition have so many different eyes. We have these big circular eyes of Jagannatha, we have these almost foreboding eyes of Tirupati, we have the fish-shaped eyes of Srilanji, and then we have these very poetic eyes of a poet like Vidyapati of Bihar, and then we have the alluring eyes of a Naika who's getting ready to meet her beloved. And of course, don't forget the eyes of the Kishankar Naika, the Panikani, and so on. These very beautiful eyes. And the simple eyes of a village woman waiting for her beloved to come. So these are the many different eyes that we all know about. But I want to talk about the third eye. Not just the two eyes and those two very beautiful eyes, but the third eye. And I'll tell you why I want to talk about the third eye. And it is the third eye, as Professor Mohan said, which will eventually lead us to Satyam, Sundaram, Smaranam. The word Smaranam there is very important, and I'll explain that as we proceed. So, why is it that now, at this stage, that we are talking about the third eye? So many years and centuries have gone by that we've been talking about things beautiful, about Saundarya, Mimamsa, and so on. The reason we are talking about the third eye at this time is because of a couple of reasons. Art historians, Indian art, and the word art itself is very troublesome to me. I prefer to use the word beauty or objects of beauty, but let us use the word art because that is commonly understood. Indian art has been hijacked, if I might say so, with permission, by art historians who are Western trained. Initially, these art historians were entirely from the West, like Archer, who were very sympathetic to India, but their whole outlook was completely Western. And then the whole range of art historians that they produce, and will still dominate Indian art, in India and abroad, is Western trained art historians, who give us a very limited and truncated view of Indian art. They are unable to take us to the third eye. They restrict themselves only to the two eyes of vision. And that is why I think it is time now for us who are based in the Indian traditions that we need to talk about the third eye and get away from two eyes. Museums, and this is the museum where I work in Mumbai, the Chhatrapati Shivaji Vastu Sangrahalaya, one of the finest museums, not only in India but in Asia. Museums again are a Western construct. There were no museums in ancient India. In the entire culture of museums, regrettably, is art historically based. When you go from one gallery to another in this very, very beautiful museum, very good collection, or whether it is a National Museum of Delhi or the Museum of Kolkata or wherever, and of course all the foreign museums where Indian art is kept, the approach is entirely art historical. They talk about the provenance, they talk about where the object was made, who was the patron, and so on. Very, very seldom, and perhaps not at all, do they talk about the aesthetic experience of these art objects. How many Natarajas have you seen in so many different museums? Has anybody written even under the image of what is the aesthetic experience of the Nataraja? How many Krishna paintings are hanging everywhere? Have they explained what Krishna Shringar means? And what is Krishna Shringar? Have they spoken about Dvaita and Advaita? Have they spoken about all of this very, very important? concepts of beauty for us in India? Have they spoken about rasa or dhvani? Have they spoken of Abhinavagupta? Not at all. They just keep on talking art history. And therefore, museums also important, I think, are playing a part. And then, of course, famous Ananda Kentish Kumaraswamy did his best to bring out Indian art from the clutches of the Western art historians. But he was not totally successful. Even Kumaraswamy failed in his attempt to rescue Indian art from the Western art historians. And then, of course, today in the world of art, art has become a commodity. There are art auctions all over the world of Indian art, and art objects are a commodity to be bought and exchanged and is an object of investment, not necessarily beauty. How many investors I have met, Western, many Indian also, who collect Indian art because it increases in value. They put it under the bed or in a closet. Do they understand the value of that Indian art? Do they even care to investigate what is the aesthetic experience from those objects? And then, if that is not enough, we have books upon books coming out these days. The latest book that came into my hands, India, A History in Objects, by a very senior curator of the British Museum. The British Museum, incidentally, has a lot of objects from India. And Richard Burton has done a good encyclopedic survey of all these objects. Has he understood them? Has he even attempted to guide us as to how to understand it? He talks about paintings, he talks about the Rasika Priya, and so on. Has he ever mentioned who Rasika Priya was written by? And what is the Rasika Priya all about? And on and on. So they keep on talking about objects and objects and objects. And surely, an object is more than an object. An object is a subject as well. So that is the reason we are living in this whole environment which is object-centered. I attended a talk at the Smithsonian Institute in Washington by one of our very noted art historians. And the first lecture was on Shiva Nataraja. And of course, being very fond of the Nataraja and so on. My wife and I went all the way to Washington to listen to this lecture. In a 3-hour lecture, the lecturer spoke about the copper content of Nataraja for 2.5 hours. Because it is very, very important to that particular person. To me, it wasn't important at all. It was only marginally important. So this is the environment in which we are living. And therefore, what we really have to do when we are talking about the third eye is we have to move from Sundar to Saundarya. People use the word Sundar and Saundarya as if they are the same. That is not so. The two words are completely different and have a very different meaning. Sundar is an adjective. It describes an object. This is Sundar, and this is Sundar, and that is Sundar. It's an adjective. It describes the object. Art historians stop there. Modern people who look at Indian art stop at Sundar. The journey up to Sundar is only half complete. It has just begun. We have to go from Sundar to Saundarya. Saundarya is a contemplative noun. It's not an adjective. To require to get to the experience of Saundarya, you need to contemplate, get away from the object, analyze the object, let the various features of the object dissolve in your mind, and that leads to Saundarya or beauty. Sundar, beautiful, Saundarya, beauty. You have to go from the beautiful to beauty, from Sundar to Saundarya. what you've been doing in this country and abroad for the last several hundred years. And that is why we need to talk about this now. Now, it is this third eye where the sakar, or the form, becomes nirakar, or the formless. Saundarya can only arise when the sakar dissolves, when the object loses its objectivity. The object has to be there, of course. We have to start with the object. We cannot get rid of the object. But the object on contemplation loses its objectivity and becomes nirakar, without form. Where the shabda acquires artha, words acquire their meaning. Where bhava becomes rasa. We are not from Shringar Bhav. We have to move to Shringar Ras. If you are stuck at Shringar Bhav, as many people do, and you are talking about Krishna and Shringar Bhav, you are not going to understand the Bhagavad Puran unless you are able to move from Shringar Bhav to Shringar Ras. It's a world of difference. It's a movement from the earth to the sky, where lyrics dissolve into melodies. If there is a song, and there are lyrics of that song, which are very important, of course, but that lyrics ultimately on contemplation, on enjoyment, deep thinking, lyrics just go away, and we are left with melodies. The object surrenders its objectivity. The subject then shines in its own light. The subject is Swayam Prakasha. The subject does not need an object. It just needs an object. We need the object to get into the subject, which is our inner mind, or the third eye. But the third eye, or the mind of the mind, ear of the ear, is Swayam Prakasha. It does not need the object. But Shakti and then Shiva become the Ardhana. The object and the subject become the Ardhana in the final moments of experience. And Jnana, knowledge, dissolves into Bhakti at that point of Samadhi in the third eye. And it gives us an experience of what are called Purnatva, Ananda, Atmarati, Atmanishta, so on. At that point in our experience, we are not very far from our Atman. And that is the smaranam that I want to talk about. That when the art object, the Satyam, which is also very beautiful, Sundaram, we subject it to the third eye. We are very, very close to our Atman. And we remember the Atman. The Atman is not to be discovered. The Atman is there. We are born with it. The Atman has to be remembered. We forget the Atman. That's why Smaranam, the beautiful story of Shakunta, tells us the whole epistemology, if you like, of remembering and forgetting and then remembering. The entire story of Shakuntala is based on the epistemology of discovering your own self. It is closed in a romantic story, but ultimately it is Smaranam. And when we have that Smaranam of our Atma, it's Kshanika, it's very short-lived. And it is therefore that when we are experiencing a very beautiful object, and when we are experiencing it with our third eye, with the eye of the eye, that we sometimes cry. We go into a state of samadhi, even for a moment. And then when we leave it, we remember that moment. And we cry because we want to go back there. How often have you seen, and again, one very simple, trivial example that I can give you. I'm not a musician, but my wife and I were sitting next to Pandit Badayakhan, and he was just practicing. And at one point, he struck a note on his sitar, and went into a trance, closed his eyes, the sitar stopped. We dare not ask what happened to him, but we didn't understand anything. So when he started to play again and then he stopped, I said, Harsha, what happened to you at that time? Why did you suddenly stop when you pulled that string? He said in Hindi that when I pulled that gandhar, it is one of the most beautiful gandhars I've ever heard in my life. Because in a sitar you have to create your own notes, as you know, the notes are not given to you. So that gandhar, when I heard it, I went into the womb of gandhar and I was completely stupefied. He went into a state of samadhi. One of many examples of something that is beautiful takes you almost, if not entirely, into a state of samadhi. And once you are in a state of samadhi, you are not very far from Brahman, although it is very khanika. So, my talk this afternoon is only about visual art. I am not a musician, I am not a dancer. But what I am about to say about visual art can also be applied to music, can also be applied to dance. One of the first artists that we need to look at, and even if they are not called artists, people who do artwork, who create beautiful objects, see how I have difficulty myself going from the word art to beauty. I do not like the word art at all. It's a Western word with Western baggage. The Indian word is objects of beauty, vastu, sundar vastu. But since the word art has come into being, we just can't avoid it. So look at this very beautiful creation by the Varlis of Maharashtra. This is called Varli art, if you like. And what the Varlis do, the Gonds will also do, the people in the Nilgiris will also do, the Adivasis in the Gujarat will similar things. These Adivasis, the Bhumijans, are the first artists for us. And they live in complete harmony with the world around them. The world of trees and blossoms and river and water and sky and birds and peacocks. To them they are there as their family. As Tukaram says, they are their soira. They are their family members. Rain to them is a blessing. Earth for them is a mother. When the rain and the earth come together, it is a moment of great happiness and joy. So they integrate the entire environment into their lives and therefore into their thinkings. We don't have to teach them ecology. They know it much better than we do. And this is the art that they produce. This kind of art gets very, very little attention from our modern art historians or people who talk about art. And then what about the Gonds, who do these very beautiful trees? Then look at the concept of the tree. The tree and the animals are all fused into one. There are no sharp dividing lines between animals and trees and birds and human beings. We are all one. That holistic view of life is what Adivasi artists give us, only if we take a few moments to understand. So when we come to the so-called classical art, again a very Western word, the margi as they call it, we have to understand that most of our classical art or classical beauty come from archetypes. Archetypes are ancient forms of our tradition, as we were talking about, which flow down through trackless generations, father to son, mother to daughter. And they are a part of our universal unconscious mind. They are within us. We live with these archetypal forms. And it is from these archetypal ancient forms that many other forms will arise. They are the source, the seed, the seminal basis for most of our forms that we use in Indian art. But unless you take it back to the archetype, you're going to see a tree as a tree. Whereas those of us who know how archetypes are formed, those of us who know the story of Samudra Manthan, we know how these 9 or 14 ratnas were developed by the journey of the ocean. See how hugely metaphoric this myth is. What is the ocean? What are the ratnas? Who are the devas? Who are the asuras? And look at the ratnas that come out of this 9 or 14, whatever you know. And each of these ratna is an archetypal form. And from this ratna, whether it is the tree, or the horse, or the elephant, or the cow, or the ramba, and above all the kalasha, the golden pitcher which contains nectar, that becomes an archetypal form for us. And as they say, rupam rupam pratirupam bhavu. There is no such thing as a form that you discover. The form that you are using in your literature or painting comes from trackless generations, which has been part of your subconscious mind, the unconscious mind. Sorry. And therefore, the Kalasha, for instance, just to give an example, is a prime example of an archetypal form. And the Kalasha takes so many different forms in our day-to-day life, from a simple object in a kitchen, or in the prayer room, or in the bazaar, or in our granary, and then in various paintings, the potter who makes his various forms. Each of these forms, whether it is in your kitchen or prayer room, or in the hands of a potter, in the hands of an artist, each of these forms can be traced back to the Amrit Kala. That is the beauty of archetypal forms, that there is that continuous connection from a simple pot made by a potter to the Amrit Kala that was brought out of the journey of the ocean. And then from the pot come so many different ideas. Ganga holding the river in a pot. There are various forms that look like the pot itself, and so on. Now again, another archetypal form is the woman in the tree that comes out of the Samudra Manthan, and you see so many different types of women in the tree. Even going back to the Indus Valley, if you like, there are women in the tree there. And then so many different varieties of the Shalapanjika, the Dohas, the woman kicking the tree with the left foot. Huge amounts of literature, poetry, painting, dance that comes out of that single motif. And then of course the Kalpavruksha that came out of the Samudra Manthan. So many types of trees that come out in our art. So unless you have that third eye, this will just be an ordinary tree. This will not become a Kalpavruksha. If you want this to become a Kalpavruksha, you have to be aware of the archetypes. To be aware of the archetypes, you have to have that third eye. An ordinary person looking at this will call it at the most a tree of life, or a beautiful tree, will not call it a Kalpavruksha. To call it a Kalpavruksha, you need that third eye. Next, as an artistic device that we use in our arts, and again, Indian art is robustly metaphorical. And unless you understand metaphor, you're going to miss the point altogether. Indian art is robustly metaphorical. And you must know metaphor, not just a simple metaphor of Lakshana, but the metaphor is defined by Anandavardhana, which is Dhvani, which is the extended metaphor. From one object, from one form, so many ideas can emerge. It's also called resonance of Dhvani, thanks to Anandavardhana. So if you're looking at a Shringar Rasa Nayika like this on the left, and she's looking at two pigeons, woman looking at the pigeons. That is the end of story. But no, she isn't. She is looking at two pigeons who are making love. And therefore she is herself thinking of her beloved. Because she is a Viragini. She is thinking of her beloved when the beloved comes. What about the beautiful moments spent with the beloved? So see how one little picture opens up thousands of pictures in your mind. That is the third eye, because you were able to read the metaphor. Or look at the very beautiful Abhisalika Naika on the right side. Leaving her home in the middle of the night to meet Krishna, meet ghosts and goblins and rain and thunder and gets thorns and so on. So what is this? Is it just a woman in love who is going in the middle of the night to meet her beloved? Is it not the Atman longing for the Paramatma? Is it not we who are in quest of ultimate truth? Is it not us who are Abhisalikas all the time? Those of us who are in quest of beauty, who are in quest of truth. So see the power of metaphor. Unless you have understood the metaphor of Abhisalika Naika, at the most you are going to call this a beautiful picture. You are not going to be able to call it the quest of the Paramatma Pratyatma. Then again, there's various Surasundari, the Ramba. How many variations of Surasundaris appear in our literature, in our painting, and in our dance, possibly in our music. You know, these paintings don't need literature. This painting on the left, where Krishna is waiting and Radha or the Naika has approached. We all know the stories. The artist doesn't have to tell us, because we have read the literature. We are aware of all the Sahitya. We have read Rasika Priya and the Satsai. We have read the Rasamanjari. And therefore it is the third eye that is synoptic. Synoptic meaning you should watch this painting having read the text. That is a requirement. How many of us do that? How many people who go to the museum just go and look at this very beautiful painting and say, what a lovely painting, probably done in the time of Sansarcha. They will even give you a date, 1820, 1830. Some artists will even come and tell you how this painting is made, and so on. But do they know the Rasamanjari, the Rasikapriya, the Satsai, and the Sundar Shringar, and all those Riti Kavya in the 16th, 17th, 18th centuries that dealt with this painting? Synoptic assessment, synoptic experience of a painting. That is the function of the nerve. Again, many different kinds of beautiful women. I'm going to touch briefly upon a very, very important part of our visual art, possibly also dance, is how we treat space. Now, when somebody looked at this painting and said, oh, what an elementary painting, there is no depth in this painting. Oh, why should there be depth? He's given us the Yamuna at the bottom. Oh, he's also given us the sky. Look at the depth in his painting. He does not have to give us that three-point management perspective, which Western academic art historians so much want, because that is all they want. Our space is not just that three-point management perspective. Our space is from the earth to the sky. That is what the Indian artist will do in many, many different ways. You will hardly find a Krishna painting without some indication of the sky. Again, suggesting that one has to go from the earth to the sky to understand this painting, to enjoy this painting. The third eye, not just the two eyes. Look at the way in which we treat time. Indian artists treat time in their own very specific way. Look at this painting on the left hand side. It's the Dehejia beautiful. How often have I sat with very eloquent art historians and curators, and museum boards, talking about what a beautiful painting this is of the Indological book. Somebody will say that it is worth $500,000, which it is. If this painting came to the market in New York, it would be sold for $500,000. Some of my friends keep this painting as investment. Do they understand what this painting is? This painting shows time, how Krishna moves from moment to moment. The Indian artist is not embarrassed or ashamed of showing the continuity of time. Continuity, unbroken, unfragmented. That is the signature of Indian art. Whereas, look at the painting on the right-hand side. Again, Mughal art historians, even today art historians, will rave about this painting. What a beautiful Mughal painting it is. Mughal artists concentrated on that one moment of time. They had no concept of continuity of time. That time is continuous. For Mughal artists, time is at one point. Look at the number of activities going on at one particular moment. Beautifully done. Not an Indian painting, not a painting that takes me to my third eye. The painting on the left, upon contemplation, will take me to my third eye. And lastly, simple things that we do as design. In my own museum in Mumbai, there is a gallery called Gallery of Decorative Arts. That word bothers me so much. These beautiful patterns and designs that we do, it's not decoration. It is adornment with a very deep meaning. It is extremely meaningful. The way we create these different patterns with fluid lines, dancing lines, different colors, different shapes, trying to capture a leaf or a mango or a flower or water or something in our design. An unlettered artist, I'm sure, has done this design. She doesn't have to attend art school to do this design. Perhaps she won't be able to explain to us what this design is all about. But we who are rasikas, we who should be using our third eye, should immediately see how the lines are moving, how they are not static. See the movement itself in this whole pattern. Or if we go into the very beautiful swastika design and patterns that we do everywhere. Look at the embedded meanings in this swastika, whether we do it on our doorstep or whether it is done in a stone somewhere else. This is not decoration. This is adornment. This is adornment which is very meaningful, very purposeful, and it should take us to our third eye all the time. So, the third eye, as I said in the beginning, is the one that should create an ardhanari in our mind. The ardhanari of the object and the subject. The object is the art object. These are the ardhanaris that you know so well. Aesthetic experience is like the experience of the ardhanari. Because on the right hand side, we go from cognition to contemplation. We go from movement to stillness. We go from utter sensuality of that art object to the spirituality of the object. We go from the sakar to the nirakar. And we go from Shakti to Shiva. And therefore, if we were to use our third eye, if we are to experience Indian art with our third eye, it will become an ardhanari. And thus, I say, that once we have used the third eye, and we have even a momentary experience, smaranam of our Atman, something that is very deep, something that is anandamay within us. That is why I say, Satyam, Sundaram, Smaranam. Incidentally, Satyam, Shivam, Sundaram is not an Indian phrase. Many of us feel that Satyam, Shivam, Sundaram is Indian. Satyam Shivam Sundaram was an English translation by Rabindranath Tagore. And therefore, yes, it is Indian in that sense. But the trinity of aesthetic experience is Satyam, Sundaram, Smaran. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor. It's a wonderful lecture. You explained very well how to open our third eye, but you are just trying to open our inner eyes with your beautiful presentation and pictures. Thank you so much. Any questions you can ask to the speaker? Anything you would like to ask?
Dr. Dehejia, this is not a question, but I want to recount. Without knowing, I must have something of what you spoke of. Because we live in Houston, Texas, and we are quite involved with the Houston Museum of Fine Arts, where I say me and my husband Seshwal and myself, Karma. And I have always spoken to our museum director that Indian art cannot just be seen in one static view of Nataraja or any of the sculptures that are seen. And I would often say, Dr. Marzio, he's no more now, but we have a new director. But Dr. Marzio was the early director of the museum. And I'd say our arts are so connected. So art, the sculpture is connected to dance, and dance is connected to poetry, poetry is connected to literature, and everything is connected. It's connected to stage, it's connected to space. So when you present in Nataraja in the gallery, it should be presented with some dance, it should be presented with some music. Otherwise, we are not presenting the art. And I would say this repeatedly, really not knowing the depth of maybe what I have not so knowingly said after listening to your talk. So recently, we have a new director of the museum, and there was a celebration of the Arts of India Gallery, or the Arts of Asia Galleries. And so a curator wanted me to organize maybe some Indian music for the reception. And I said, no, I won't do that. Instead, I'm going to suggest to you that we should invite our local performing artists, dance, a very well-known dancer, teacher who lives amongst us, Ratna Kumar. And I said, you should invite her and have her train some of her students and present each of the sculptures in the gallery to the accompaniment of an introduction of what Nataraja is, and then show the movement of Nataraja through dance. So this was very well received, so much so that the curator has asked if we will do a longer presentation of the same in June of this year. He said we should invite the dancers and then have them connect every one of the exhibits in the museum with the narrative through dance and music. Just wanted to tell you this.
Completely true. You all know the story of Saint Markandeya and the king. The king goes to Saint Markandeya saying, please teach me how to dance. Markandeya says, fine, first go and learn, teach me sculpting. So Markandeya says, fine, first go and learn dancing. He learns dance and he goes and says, no, now go and learn vocal music. No, that's not enough. Go back and learn instrumental. No, that's not enough. Now go back and learn Sahitya. If you have done all of that, then I'll teach same idea as yours. The word that we use technically is that Indian art is synesthetic. Different faculties have to come together for a complete understanding of the Indian art.
So stick to the questions. Suggestions.
In Shiva Purana, we came across Shiva Nataraja opening his third eye and destroying some Akira. We always heard about it. And what is the symbolic behind this particular art?
If I were to use that third eye of Shiva, I would say the third eye of Shiva is destroying our ignorance, asking us to use all our faculties to appreciate Indian art. I don't think I'm able to connect what I'm calling the third eye with the third eye of Shiva. Although the third eye of Shiva is also the eye of gnosis or of knowledge. True knowledge of Indian art and Indian beauty can only arise at that third eye.
Afternoon, sir. I would like to ask you, what is the way out for youngsters today to understand Indian art? How should they actually approach Indian art? Is it at the foundation level? Is it at the superficial level? I mean, what is the path? Can you suggest something?
I firmly believe that the first step of understanding Indian art is Sahitya. Unless you've read and understood in your own way the Bhagavad Purana, the Rasa Panchadhyaya, how are you going to understand Krishna paintings? Impossible. If you have not read the Shiva Purana, how are you going to understand the Shiva, the different paintings of Shiva? If you have not read the Devi Mahatmya, how are you going to understand the various paintings of Devi? So I would say Sahitya. For children, it should be made simple. I don't think they should be made to read complicated text, but they should be led through the text to understand the textual basis of all this art. That should be the first step. Then, of course, introduce them gradually to the art form, whether it is a painting or a sculpture, and then describe how that painting came to be, describe the various metaphors that are going on in the painting, and then let them contemplate further. A painting, a work of Indian art has to be seen again and again and again. You have to do what is called charvana. Unless one morsel is not enough. You have to eat it, bring it out again like cow. Look at it, look at it, look at it. But Sahitya is the first step. Unless you have read the understood the Sahitya. And again, at the children's level, Sahitya has to be made simple but interesting.
It is the compulsory part academic curriculum.
Every curriculum should have, I don't know how these art historians or people who do history of art and other things are able to get a PhD without ever reading the Bhagavad Purana. It's just, not acceptable.
Sir.
Thank you for your wonderful lecture. It's really enlightening. And it kind of reminded me that as a student of aesthetics from University of Bombay, myself, I can tell you, even in our postgraduate courses, we had maximum exposure to Western systems of philosophy. And even as we were at a very cursory look at Baker's Rasa theory, actually. We could see, so many flashes of Indian thought as we were going through the Western systems. For example, you talked about don't remain just with the object, go beyond that. So what was Hegel talking about except, the idea of the absolute and its manifestations, different forms. And I was curious to know how you would relate. For example, Aristotle's idea of catharsis to the idea of rasa, or is it something that comes before the experience of rasa itself?
I will confess that I'm not up on Greek philosophy. But I would venture to say that the rasa doctrine of Bharat Muni is quite unique in itself. And it has stood the test of time for us for 2000 years. The metric of art for us is the rasa theory. Whether Aristotle was influenced by Bharata or Bharata by Aristotle, I don't know. But I have a very dear friend who is working on that, a professor. And I'm sure I'm going to raise that question with him. But for the time being, I'm ignorant about, deeply ignorant about Greek philosophy.
Question from me. Actually, you spoke about the Sadha Pranchikas, Sakanya, Surasudaris and all your speech. What are the iconographical features we have to notice to differentiate?
Say that again, please.
You have mentioned about the Sadha Pranchikas, the Sakanyas, Surasundaris, etc. The female
Correct.
images. What are the iconographical details we have to notice to differentiate them?
Like for instance, when you're looking at the Salapanjika, of course the Salapanjikas have one standard motif holding the branch of the Sala tree. Don't forget that Buddha's mother was holding the branch of the Sala tree as she gave birth to Buddha to the side of her chest and so on. There the iconography is simple, woman holding a tree. It becomes more interesting when we talk about those dohas. There are 10 dohas, there are 10 longings of a tree. And I have it written down, but like for instance, the Ashoka tree longs for the touch of a woman's left foot. So that if a woman is standing near a tree and touching the tree with her left foot, then that is the Ashoka tree. Some trees long for the breath of a woman. Some trees long for a woman drinking wine and spraying wine on the tree. Some trees long for the embrace of a woman and so on. So they are very specific. So once you have to know those 10 dohas.
Thank you, Professor. Now I invite Professor Emeritus Dr. G.J. Sudhakar to propose the vote of thanks.
First of all, I would like to say that it's really a pleasure to be here, and I've been closely associated with the foundation since Dr. Prashant Krishna was my student. In fact, before he became a student also, I was associated with his foundation in some Prashant here. So even before he became a student in Loyola College. So it's truly my pleasure to be here. And next, I would like to say on behalf of the C.P. Ramasamy Iyer Foundation, we have great pleasure in thanking you, Professor Harsha. When I saw the invitation, Dr. Sumati, one of the colleagues here, and when she sent the invitation and the instruction of Dr. Balaji, I was quite impressed that you being a medical practitioner took to art so well. In the last couple of years in lockdown, I've been listening to a lot of doctors' programs on the television, and I find every one of them is so analytical. So I think you brought that mind of a medicine person to art. So it's just wonderful. Now coming to the subject, I think this is perhaps, as you said, you have been associated with the foundation earlier also. So I think this perhaps is a wonderful place for you to give this lecture, because Dr. Nandita herself is a very distinguished art historian, the president of this foundation, and she has expressed apologies for not being here because of other engagements. So I think we also had the Indian Art History Congress, Dr. Balaji, who was the local secretary with the support of the administration here. So I think Indian Art History Congress. So I think this is the right place for you to have delivered this lecture. But what I take home from your lecture is that basically that we have to move out from the kind of background that the Western trained art historians or whatever you call them, the critical aspects. So I think basically the critical view of Indian art. So I definitely agree with you. But at the same time, as somebody who's taught Indian art at Loyola College, one of the prestigious colleges not only in the city but also in this country, I've had the experience of teaching Indian art for about 35 odd years. So I have had the experience of the man was asking. I've had both the good and bad experience of teaching young students Indian art. But they basically need to have an academic mind. Like you said, that one doesn't know Babur Purana, how good that no one appreciates. So there's a wonderful lot of critical points that emerge in your lecture, and we really appreciate your lecture. I think perhaps those of us who have some interest in art, we have to attend art appreciation courses. So if somebody who doesn't know cricket, success in a cricket match, I've had the experience of that. People making odd comments about as to how many balls in a over, sitting in a test cricket match. And similarly in a Carnatic music concert, if you really don't know the basics of the Carnatic music, you can't appreciate. So similarly Indian art also, I think there's a need for a lot of art appreciation courses. You must attend them, and it's an academic mind, a mind to appreciate, the beautiful things that Professor Harsha was explaining with a lot of trouble. So thank you, Professor. It's just absolutely wonderful. And I think there are several other people who are associated with this, Dr. Balaji, Dr. Mohan, Dr. Sumiti, the entire staff here, and the administration, as I mentioned, Dr. Nandita and Prashant. So I think it's a wonderful evening that we have had, a very enriching evening and a very intellectual evening. I drove about 30 kilometers in a heavy rain to attend this lecture. Thank you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Before we go, I just want to make one announcement. On December 24th, we are organizing a lecture on recollecting South Indian dances by the former curator of Madras Museum, Dr. V. Srinivas. You are all welcome. It's on December 24th, Saturday, 11 a.m. Thank you.